And it is a good morning. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann. In the morning where talk is real, truth is in the talk, and there is power in truth. And we believe Power Talks. And good morning to everyone, and good morning to Melody.
And good morning. We're going to have to change that song. That's all there is to
it. I saw Debbie Reynolds in an old movie this weekend on Friday night. I watched TV, and it was a Western, so to speak. And she was some city gal who had widowed and had 2 kids, and they had a dream to go west and start a new life. And so she was doing that, but she had to leave her children with her mother-in-law. And as she goes west, and she tries to become a rancher and went through all this stuff. And, of course, she was a city girl, and she didn't know how to do anything, but she was a worker. And then she ends up being the sheriff of the town, and it was so funny. It was just really funny.
Did she sing that song in the morning?
No, she did not. It was not a musical. She didn't even dance. Did you know she could not dance before that movie, Singing in the Rain? She had to learn to dance for that movie. So, anyway, she was just a young whippersnapper.
We have to change it because I was humming it all weekend long. So I've got to stop. It's driving me.
It's a good song. It's a good song.
You know, when I'm happy. Good morning.
I'm glad you're happy.
Well, there's not a lot to be. Well, there's always a lot to be happy about, but
but not for everyone. You know, we had. Go ahead.
We have troubling times.
We do. We had the chemical attack, it appears, in Syria. Well, it was actually on Taiz Air Base near Homs, and it's eastern Syria. And there were, I think, 40 people who were killed, and amongst those were women and children, of course. President Donald Trump is aggravated. He was pretty heated up over Putin and Assad. He's calling him Animal Assad for what he has done, and vows he kind of ripped at President Obama for allowing things to get this bad. He drew that red line in the sand and then backed up. And so anyway, he has been dealt a handful of a mess, foreign policy-wise, economically-wise, national security-wise here, just everything that this man is going through to try and keep America safe. I'm not a foreign policy person, so I really have, I don't know what the right thing is to do at this point, but I know that these people did not have a good morning.
Well, I'm going to go to the other side of that.
Oh, she's going to the dark side. Go ahead.
I mean, how can folks, it was just Thursday, Friday, where Trump said he wanted out of Syria?
I know.
Do you really believe that Assad would commit this atrocity at the very moment when Syrian forces have decisively defeated the Islamic rebels and Trump declared he wanted U.S. troops out of Syria? Just
so
days before?
Do you think it... I'm asking, do you think it didn't happen and they're just telling us that, or you think someone else did it to keep America in there?
Maybe we'll never know. The Russian Defense Ministry warned that a false flag provocation was in the making, and now we have this big price that he's going to pay. You have John Bolton taking over his position today, and Bolton has long advocated that if he gets into a war, and the longer we stay in Syria, the bigger the chances that we'd be pulled into yet another quagmire. He wants Bolton, where did I see that in this article that I was reading out of antiwar.com, which is a great website, one of the few that I truly visit. And but it's like he wants to establish an Islamic Sunni state in Syria. This is something that Bolton has long advocated. So, when I first saw it, you have Israel, and I think Israel was to blame a year ago, and it's right on the year anniversary. Now, is that a coincidence? No, it isn't a coincidence. And it's, and I can't believe that they'd be, we've seen all the pictures and the horrors and everything, but you do have, why would Assad do that? Right when the U.S. was pulling out of Syria. Mm-hmm. Why would he do that? We know Israel's been bombing on a regular basis since, Lord knows when. And I think, personally, my own personal opinion, it was Israel who did the, I don't think they did the chemical assault last year, but I think they bombed for the weapon where the chemical weapons were being stored, and that's how the issue came, because they were bombing, and no one talks about it. No one mentions it.
Well, they did mention that. They did mention that the storage unit was bombed. They did mention
that. I think that was really by Israel, because they're in there bombing all the time.
I thought it was us that did some of it. We went in and did some bombing on the Air Force base
Afterwards.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But prior to that, Israel was in there bombing with us too. But I mean, so you add one and one together, and it's so
doesn't always add up, does it?
So. But I truly believe this was, whether it was Israel, whether it was Mossad, something. I do not believe it was Assad.
Well, it's interesting. We may never know. But I tell you what, there's an awfully large chess game going on in the world, isn't there? And the people and the countries are pawns.
And you might even pull up some of the footage from this chemical attack to see if you can match it up with the footage we saw last year. I don't know. I don't know anymore.
See if it's the same pictures. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But no, I don't. I find it very hard to believe that this be Assad. That this isn't I don't know if it's fake news, but if it truly was a chemical attack, why would Assad do it?
Interesting thoughts.
I mean,
very much so.
And unless someone can give me a reason why Assad would do it, yes, he's not, he doesn't get the humanitarian award of the century. I get that.
Some people think he should. They say he's a doctor. He's done a lot of things for these people over there, and but I don't know. It's an ugly region to live in. It's never, as long as my life has been here, they have not had peace, and it's more disrupted and vulnerable or volatile than it ever was, and it's just a mess, and people playing games with other people's lives for power, for money, for whatever.
I mean, you have John Bolton who gets in there. It's no secret. It's no secret what he's been trying to do for years and years and years. Mm-hmm. Now he's in a position to do it.
He's so arrogant.
And he has the ability to influence Trump. So, they're kind of the same mindset, so...
Except Trump has always said he wants to get it done and get out. And, Bolton is kind of like, let's inhabit the area and keep it safe, let's stay there. He's been more that way, I think, hasn't he?
Well, yeah, people talk about the swamp. How much swampier can you get than John Bolton? So, it's, I'm not in the presidential, to where I receive the information, but, Israel was blamed for a missile strike that 14 reported are dead. This was an hour ago. Russian and the Syrian military blamed Israel for a pre-dawn missile attack today, including 14 people, including Iranians.
Yes.
So here's another.
Well, and the one article I had was suggesting that, Iran might have had something to do with this attack too. So I don't know. It's interesting, very interesting. So I don't know. Just craziness.
Well, again, I mean, yeah, Iran and Israel, and but why would the U.S. was pulling out the troops?
Well, except they said they were, but they weren't going to give a timeline on that either. President Trump's never going to do that, he said, and I know that he's not necessarily in.
He said as soon as possible.
Yes, he did, and then the other, and I know that this one is not in it's not in President Trump's, and I can't think of his name. It's General Green. I think his name is Green, and he was saying, yeah, but we can't get out. The generals never want to get out; they always want to stay and occupy.
No, that's what they're,
and
well,
he didn't want to get out, and he said we can't. He says I do think it's a good thing that we get out, but we can't rush out. If we rush out like we've done before, that's just going to be chaos, and it's going to be another ISIS develop or whatever. Anyway, it was he's got like we had said months ago, he's got lots of generals around him, lots of military around him. So
yeah, but again, the big question is why would Assad do it? Mm-hmm. Here, the things were calming down. ISIS was supposedly eliminated. He has still had his life. And now, he's got all the bow and arrows and weapons targeting him. So why would you do that? Well, I mean, and what would he accomplish by having, the force of Trump on him?
It's true.
So, I mean, who's the stupid one?
Good questions.
Who's the stupid one? So, and what they do is, it is all the children and women and children and so forth, and it's I don't, how much of it is all propaganda, how much of it is
real.
I mean, you can't believe. I mean, how can you believe the fake news here in the States regarding something, but not believe possibly there's fake news everywhere? So just because it doesn't match our agenda and so forth.
Interesting.
So who knows? But no, I find it very hard to believe that, but
time will tell, I guess. Maybe it'll tell. I have another article here that, moving on to some other, it's, do you remember the debauchee school girls that were kidnapped? The one is a Christian schoolgirl, and she remains in captivity of the Islamic terror group Boko Haram in Nigeria. Leah Sharibu, she's 15, was one of 110 girls that were kidnapped by the terrorist organization after they stormed the government girls' science and technical college in Debauchee, Nigeria. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Debauchee, Nigeria. A majority of the girls have now been freed, but Sharibu's refusal to convert to Islam means that she remains in the group's captivity. Most of the girls were released in the middle of the night under an agreement with the military that they would withdraw some of their soldiers, although 5 girls were killed during the release. This is coming from one of the parents. She says, my daughter is alive, but they wouldn't release her because she is a Christian. I got choked up. I want to finish this when we come back. Whoa. Melody, you might have to...
Hey, sorry. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back as Beth recovers. Thank you for joining us.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. I was talking about the young girls that were kidnapped in Nigeria by an Islamic group. And I got a little choked up, and I apologize for that. But the mother of the young girl that they have kept, she says, my daughter is alive, but they wouldn't release her because she is a Christian. They told her they would release her if she converted, but she said she will never become a Muslim. I'm very sad, but I'm also overjoyed because my daughter did not denounce Christ. And, this is an article about these young girls, and there was 110 of them kidnapped. And it doesn't give the date when that took place in this article, but I do remember them talking about this happening. But it's scary, and you think about this young girl. She refuses to denounce or reject Jesus Christ, and then we see Joy Behar behaving as she does here in a supposedly Christian nation, making fun of the Lord Jesus Christ. Well, I'm sure they wouldn't hold her captive very long because she wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure that this young girl has withstood. And you know they haven't been kind to these young girls. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. So if you want to start that on your prayer list, Leah Sharabu, she's 15 years old, still being held by Islamic terrorists. And we have Ari in Utah on the line. Ari, how are you today?
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Listen, I got a couple of things real quick for y'all.
Okay.
You were talking about that chemical attack in Syria.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I found an article on Hal Turner Radio. Anyways, they've got on the media, on the website, they've got an article about that. There's pictures on the article saying that that they found some of the tubes that were used in the chemical attack, and there's pictures that show on the chemical tubes that they were made in Germany by Merck. Since Syria doesn't have they don't have a trade relations with Germany, they're saying that it wasn't Syria. Anyways, I just thought I'd throw that out there. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But this second thing, I have a question for you, Melody. I found a link when I was on the internet that had to do with Jim Rickards. You've heard of him?
Yes, I have.
Okay, well, anyways, I know he's a real big man out there as far as finances goes, and he says he claims to have high level contacts into Wall Street, just about every powerful elite person that's out there, globalist, Federal Reserve, and whatnot. Anyways, he's claiming that there's a new technology called distributed ledgers that are based on or tied to the SDR, special drawing rights of the IMF. Have you heard anything about that?
Well, I know about Jim Rickards, and basically I like some of the things that he says, but he's paid to write newsletters for Agora Financial, and I'm not a fan of Agora Financial. And some of his things, I mean, he's like, one minute he's like, wow, that's some good insight, and then on the other hand, he does something that's just like, say what? Is the guy all there? Just like I don't know, it was maybe 2 years ago, he was promoting some sort of an interview with this guy in, I don't know, Sweden or someplace, Switzerland, and, he was Mr. Goldfinger, and I'm thinking, like, do people believe this? But it's all to get your attention and so forth. So I don't know. I haven't heard about this. I'll have to follow up on it. I mean, there's all kinds of tricks and games that they do in order to keep the system going, and the SDRs are one way. So I'll have to follow up on it and report on that. But, again, Jim Rickards, sometimes he comes across with something that has great insight. Then on the other hand, it's like, say what? And again, he's paid to write newsletters.
He says he talks about this in a couple of best-selling books he has. One is called The Road to Ruin. The other one is called The New Case for Gold. Anyways, what he is saying, he says that he's saying that around the midpoint of summer, he's using the date of July 1st of this summer, that the dollar is no longer going to be the world's reserve currency. Anyways, I would really appreciate it if you could look into this. If
I had a gold coin every time Jim Rickards gave a date that the dollar would decline and collapse, I wouldn't be working today.
Okay, that's fine. That's why I'm calling.
Yeah, Jim Rickards promotes fear. Jim Rickards, and this is again in his newsletters, and they push penny stocks, junk stocks. That's what they push, to where you can make, and I'll guarantee you with every article that he writes is attached to where you can make, 2,000% return on your money. And he's one that says all you need is 5% of gold in your portfolio, physical gold. But I'll give you these paper stocks, that's, pennies, and then he'll quote a few that, have already made some good returns and so forth, and this one's the next one too. Be in the thing. So in that respect, but he has a great following because he's an attention grabber, and he's a great sensationalist. Where me, I base it on truth and honesty, and I don't get the attention that a lot of these guys that sensationalize the news and use the fear and greed aspect of things in order to get the attention. But yeah, he has a huge following. I mean, I get his articles and I read them, most of them, not all of them. I haven't for a while because once he did that Goldfinger thing, that kind of just ruined any credibility that I thought he had in my, to who I would like to follow. So, but I will check up on it.
Thank you, Melly. I listened to your afternoon show. I guess you probably have Pastor Butch on now. So, yes, if you could follow up on that, I would really, really appreciate it, because the fact of the matter is this: if it's not true, that needs to go out too.
Very much. Very much. But do I believe the dollar is going to be toast by July 1st? No.
Yeah. Okay, if you could really check into that really well, I would deeply appreciate that.
It could be toast if we go to war with Russia.
Mm.
You know? Yeah. You know, I was reading today where, was it Japan's purchasing of our debt has been lower than it has been in a long time. So, you know, there's options now for these countries, and it is a dangerous world, and the dollar is losing confidence.
One of the things I did hear also was that China has 5 nuclear options that it's considering in regards to this possible trade war. Two of the things real quick that they were considering was getting rid of their treasury bonds, and another one was I guess they have the world's trade and market on the rare earth metals, and 94% of them are mined and refined and manufactured in China, and this country depends on all that for everything from computers to electronics to weapons guidance systems and whatever else. Anyways, it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds with this proposed trade war that may go into effect. Anyways, that's about all I have. I'll be listening to you on the afternoon and so seeing what you may have found out about this Jim Ricketts story.
All righty. Thank you, Ari. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ari.
And you know something, too, with this deal in Syria, trade war, that's totally out of the news now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
let's talk about China. We got Syria to talk about.
But you know what? I just got something in, and every once in a while they come out with some really good information. It's the National Inflation Association. See, I sign up with a lot of these things. Once in a while they have a little gold nugget. That's really good. They get paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to write articles for a particular product and sway people's opinion. Well, I can read through that and understand it, so I don't pay much attention to some of the little bit of tidbits that they might have in there. And so I got something today, and I think it is really interesting because I did not know this. And again, what they're talking about is no one in the mainstream media is talking about Syria. They want you to believe the false propaganda that Assad would bomb his own people with chemical weapons. But over the last 12 months, the world's #1 best performing fiat currency has been the Syrian pound on the black market, rising 28% against the U.S. dollar.
Oh, interesting.
In addition, Syria's Damascus Securities Exchange has been the world's #1 best performing stock market. Over the last 12 months, on a U.S. dollar adjusted basis, the Damascus weighted index has gained an incredible 148%. With ISIS defeated and Syrian citizens were moving back into the areas that ISIS once controlled, capital has begun to flow back into the economy. Assad would have nothing to gain and everything to lose if he suddenly used chemical weapons against the Syrian people that support him. Tens of thousands of innocent civilians have been killed in Syria by U.S.-led coalition airstrikes, and hundreds of thousands more have been murdered in Syria by terrorist groups backed by the U.S. in their quest for regime change under the guise of destroying ISIS. Russia successfully prevented regime change in Syria that the U.S. deep state had planned for decades. Americans voted for Mr. Trump, believing that he would bring our troops back home. This terrified the deep state, which, with the help of the CIA-controlled mainstream media, created the phony, fake Russian collusion, blah, blah, blah. So that's really interesting that financially they were coming back. Their currency had gained. Their weighted index had gained 148%. So economically, you'd have to ask yourself, why? Why would Assad destroy all of that?
Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So I appreciate Ari's call, and so I don't know if I'll have the information by 4 o'clock this afternoon, Ari, but if not by then, tomorrow or in the next day or two. So thank you.
All right. I didn't know if you had seen. Oh, we have another caller. Let's go then before we start something else. We have Joe in Arkansas. Joe, how are you today? Are you there, Joe?
Hello? Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Good
Well,
morning.
what I said, I'm doing all right so far. And how are you?
Good.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Well, I want to thank Melody very, very much for all this information that she's been coming up with on Syria. It sounds like she's dug up some really good research and really good information about that. And I think she's really smart to be suspicious about this, the idea that Assad would use this poison gas against his own people again like this.
Hey,
and,
Joe, is there going to be a but?
A what? No. Actually, there is not a but. Actually, there is not a but. No, I just wanted to add something to it. And further, I want to add to it, just what is the interest of the American people in who is in charge of Syria? I'd like to ask that. I mean, why should we be involved and interested in Syria in the first place? I think the only reason we're there is that the New World Order empire builders in our government, it's part of their grand chessboard. They want to rearrange the Middle East to their liking. They want to rearrange all the governments of the whole world to their liking, whether it has anything to do with the good of the American people or not. And it's obvious that for a long time they've wanted to get rid of Assad. I think what they want to do is they want to put in Muslim Brotherhood governments all over the Middle East there. They put in that guy, Morsi, the Muslim Brotherhood guy that the Egyptians didn't like, and the Egyptians were finally able to get rid of him, but they wanted to get rid of Gaddafi for the same reason, because he was holding up the progress of Muslim Brotherhood type governments, and I think the same thing goes for Saddam Hussein. And so I think that's the reason we're there. And of course, also they're beating the drums for war against Russia. Like John McCain said, Vladimir Putin threatens the New World Order. So this seems to be so these people are entirely capable of creating some kind of incident, I believe, for which they could use as a justification to go to war against both Assad and against Russia. So I think Melody is extremely smart to be suspicious about, whether Assad really did this or not, like we're being told. Like she said, he has no reason whatsoever to do it. So I want to say that, and also about the rare earths from the China and the rare earths that the other caller brought up. In this wonderful economics book, the best economics book I ever read, is called Unforgiven, The Story of How America Has Exchanged Parity Agriculture for Parity War by Charles Walters Jr. One of the most interesting chapters in that is called The Starch and Steel. And what that has to do with was, I think it was during World War II, that we were buying manganese to put in the steel. Apparently manganese is a crucial ingredient for hardening steel. And we were buying that from other countries. And the mining companies, the big mining corporations and so on like that, were telling our government that we were dependent on foreign sources for this manganese and we didn't have it in this country and all this kind of stuff. And so he had a chapter there about, I think it was some professor of mining from Nebraska or somewhere out in the Midwest there that knew of a very good ore bed of manganese, in the upper Midwest. I think it was either in Nebraska or South Dakota or one of those states up there. And, and this professor was trying to bring to the attention of the government and authorities and everything that we had plenty of manganese in this country and that the manganese corporations were lying about this and so on and so on. But he was having a real hard time getting it through, to the understanding that the only reason they were saying this was they didn't want to pay American wages to American workers to mine manganese in this country. So I bet with all the mineral-rich mountains we have in this country, the mountains on the West Coast and the Rocky Mountains and the mountains in Alaska and all the different varieties of terrain and, soil and everything that we have in this country. I bet all those rare earths are in this country in good supply, just as much or more than China. And the only reason that we're buying them from China is, again, the big corporations don't want to pay American wages to American workers to mine them here. I bet that's what's going on there again. Okay, thank you very much. That's what I wanted to say this morning. Bye.
Thank you, Joe.
Appreciate
Thank you, Joe. I do appreciate it. And, it's interesting because you do want to question what's all this going on. Really, because I always thought that the U.S. sort of helped Assad to get into, there was no problem. Then you had the Arab Spring. And, the Arab Spring was just, anti-government protests. And so he was Assad was in there, and the relationship, it gets complicated, with the relationship. Syria was always an ally to the Soviet Union, and so it is complicated, but it seemed to begin with the Arab Spring. Assad cracked down against these uprisings, and so this is kind of where it all started, and then eventually the U.S. Wanted Assad removed, and that's what we do. It never seems to work out well. It never seems to work out well, does it? We have Lauren in Ohio. Lauren, how are you today?
Good morning, ladies. And
Good morning.
Don't get rid of the song. I sing it. Me and my little boy sing it.
Thank
That's how
you.
I wake my girls up. Anyway, I just got off the phone with the White House. I hope people will call the White House, 202-456-1414. Go to the comment line and make a statement about what they're doing in Syria. You've got to be stupid to think that the man's going to attack his own people. He's a doctor. He doesn't even let those people have GMO food, for goodness sake. And his people elected him just like this country elected Trump. Yep. How do we feel about Hillary and all these crazy people trying to get him out of office a year after we don't like it. Well, how would you feel if somebody sent an army in trying to get him out? And I'll tell you why they're trying to get him out. Look up Genie Oil. Look up who's on the board of directors of Genie Oil.
Yep.
Yeah, Woolsey, ex-CIA Director Woolsey, the man with no heart, Dick Cheney, all these criminals are sitting on that board. What they want is they want the oil out of Syria for their little company, and they're willing to kill American men and women in order to get it. We need this to stop. You do not go and invade somebody's country. They've asked us to leave. We have no business being there. They invited the Russians in. The Russians have been very patient with us. I want Donald Trump meeting with Putin. I want our troops out of Syria. And I want the people who have done this arrested. And I'll tell you where you can get the evidence for this. The man's Army intelligence. Scott Bennett. The book is called Shell Game. If you can have him on for an interview, it would be well worth your time and trouble. He wound up in jail. He worked under Doug Zackheim. His job was to track the money. Guess what he found? He found all the Clinton bank accounts in Switzerland, whereby they were paying ISIS, Israeli Secret Intelligence Service, is what ISIS stands for. As far as the old one, Al-Qaeda, all CIA, duh. Don't we get this yet? Aren't we tired of this yet?
Yep.
So I'm sorry, but I'm not going to, at this point, President Trump has got to do something about these criminals. He's got to stop attacking people that didn't bother us. He's got to stop allowing falsehoods to rule him. Everybody knows the Russians didn't do anything. Why is he still pussyfooting around? I mean, if they've got something on you, man, we don't care. If you had sex with whoever, or if you did whatever, that's not our concern. What is our concern is that you uphold and defend this Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and we want something done about these treasonous traitors. So people call the White House, let them know, we're not buying it, we're not stupid. Are you stupid? Because he doesn't like to be, on the stupid end of things. So ask him. Do you really think that this president, who his people elected multiple times, would attack his own people when he won't even let the poison food come in there? You've got an FDA in this country allowing GMO foods and MSG and aspartame. Oh, who brought us aspartame? Would that be Dick Cheney? Who brought us Prozac? Who's on the board of directors of Eli Lilly? Would that be H.W. Bush? We're the ones that don't care about our people. Okay, so enough of this. I want it stopped. So I'm hoping people will call, and if you can look up Shell Game, and I believe his name is Scott Bennett, and he was, by the way, in jail. They put the man in jail when he tracked the money and took it up the line. And remember, Doug Zackheim was the one that was there on September 10th, 9/11. He's the one that was in charge when $4 trillion went missing from the Pentagon. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, Scott Bennett was in jail with the guy who controlled the bank accounts for Bill and Hillary Clinton and for the other criminals that were paying for the ISIS soldiers. That's what's been going on. We're manufacturing our own wars with these CIA thugs. And here's the people who are trying to overthrow and undermine Donald Trump. Well, this guy is the banker he was in jail with. They have the bank accounts, and the book explains everything. And they did try to get a copy of the book to President Trump. So President Trump, Shell Game is the book. You need to read it. And then you need to go ahead and start putting these people in jail. I want to see, and I'll tell you what, if you don't do the right thing, I don't want to hear about what a great nation this is anymore. If we don't even follow the law, if we kill our own children, if we poison our own people, and everybody just stands by and wrings their hands because everybody's got some blackmail stuff on them, I mean, that attorney general isn't worth it makes me want to swear. But Jeff Sessions, if they have not blackmailed that man, if he is not working for the Bushes or whoever, the deep state, I don't know what's going on. But by golly, if we can't get justice in this country, if you won't follow the law, I'll tell you, my thing is, I want people to stop paying taxes. Go to hisadvocates.org and understand who you are. You are not liable for taxes.
And we're headed into a break, Lauren. We're going to have to let you go. Appreciate the call.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. I kind of wanted to change the topic, but we're going to go to Tom in Michigan. Tom, how are you today?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. The only reason I could think of for Assad to do it would be some kind of a gambit as part of a coalition where somebody wants us to stay in Syria. I mean, that's obvious. You know, who it is, I really have no way to tell in here from the nosebleed seats. But, if Assad wants us to stay there, that's so to deplete our resources. For, maybe he's made an alliance with, there's a laundry list. I lost my thread again. I watched the Sunday TV news talks, and it was a done deal. It was Syria, and that it was just like the Russia thing. There's all the talkers on there, the officials, the people in the media. It was Assad did it. We need to do something. What do we need to do? So, to me, that's the biggest indicator that it probably was not Assad. The question I have is who actually wants us to stay there and why?
Israel. Israel's one.
Well,
and
okay.
There's a lot of people who still want us in there. The only one that doesn't want us in there is Assad. Turkey doesn't want us in there. They want us out. Russia wants us out. Iran wants us out. So, but the ones that want us in is Israel, Saudis, and if it is oil.
We're at war with a lot of other nations too. We have troops in a lot of places where if this is some kind of a distraction, while somebody's planning something else somewhere, and I mean it could be economic. It could be that's part of it. There's the old saying, no bucks, no Buck Rogers, and that's. Wars are economic these days as well as conventional military weapons. And, I mean, that's really all I had to say.
Okay. All right, well, we appreciate
you.
We're going to move on to David in Iowa. David, how are you today?
Pretty good, pretty good. This Assad bit, I think he is being Gaddafiized. The thing on Gaddafi, he had probably one of the best countries in the world there before they wiped him out. He was trying to set up a gold-backed currency for Africa. The best way to get information on that is to go to LibyanWarTheTruth.com. This is Jimmy and Joanne Moriarty. They're Americans. They lived in Libya for 5 years. They had an oil cleanup business there. They know all the people there. They know the tribe. They have all kinds of contacts. And the story of Libya is probably best found on that website, LibyanWarTheTruth.com.
Well, again, it's no coincidence that it was April 6, 2017 that we did the missile strike in Syria for that supposed gas attack. So, it was a message loud and clear, and we'll have to see, if he brings the troops home like he said he was going to, or what is going to be the response. There's going to be a response, and there's going to be a nasty response. But what's interesting is what I think is interesting. The markets don't seem to care. The markets aren't buying into anything serious. You have this Dow Jones is up 250-some points. You have pressure on gold this morning. So the markets aren't even reacting to any of this news whatsoever. So it tells me also that it's an indication of more of a false flag because nothing's going to come of it. Maybe. I don't know. But, and the markets were just reacting to the supposed, the trade war is more of a big deal than a war with Russia and Iran. So I guess David's gone, but
I think so.
So,
it's interesting. This game we play, isn't it? Isn't it interesting?
Yeah, I mean, I do expect gold to turn around. It's only down $1 at 1,333. Silver's higher today, 5 cents. Platinum was up big, $14. Palladium was up big, a little over 3%. Both platinum and palladium are trading about the same level. Platinum 936, palladium 938, and platinum always traded much higher than palladium. And I've been telling people now's a great time to be buying get rid of your palladium if you have it, and buy platinum because platinum will eventually take its position in the precious metal sector, just like gold. Platinum's a good deal because platinum is trading below gold. Platinum usually trades higher. And even if it doesn't trade higher as we go through these financial problems that we face, that gap will close. You will see platinum rise significantly. So it's interesting to see the markets. That's what the dollar must be. Dollar is weaker. The dollar is weaker by 0.27 at 89.86. Now, that could be a function more of what's going on with Syria, of course, and with the trade war still blooming out there. Crude oil is up strong this morning at 135, 63.41. I don't know. Let me go see what the 10-year yield is doing today to see 2.81%. So it doesn't seem like people are fleeing into some sort of a safety haven. Well, you have a weaker dollar, so therefore you might see the yield a little bit higher. So that's too early to tell. Bitcoin's down this morning almost 4%, so that's having a hard time staying out of the 6,000 level. And again, Ponzi schemes, it needs that new money in there to keep the price rising or stabilized. So when you see these markets have pressures and so forth, I don't think you're going to have a lot of people putting their money into the cryptocurrency. So that was just a fad, a bubble, here today, gone tomorrow, and that's exactly what they are. The technology's different. And that's what everybody focused on. Everybody focused on the increases of the cryptocurrencies, the value and so forth. It was the technology behind it, and it was a test. You can't tell me any different that it wasn't released by a government agency. You just can't tell me any different. And they're testing it for future use. It's not going to be Bitcoin. It's not going to be any of these other cryptocurrencies out there that are going to be the main, the main focus of our future currencies. So, and I don't mean tomorrow. I believe if the dollar collapses tomorrow, I don't think they'll rush us into cryptocurrencies at that point in time. So, anyway, it's interesting. There's all types of scenarios out there that we can create, but until it actually happens, then we'll know how it's going to work out. And it's not going to work out for people very well for those who continue to hold paper, who continue to hold your wealth in paper, who continue to hold your retirement accounts, your pensions, your IRAs. You hold them in paper, it's not going to work well for you. But that's, something else. That's, people can't believe that. They're going to ride the game. They're going to ride the train until, something nasty happens. And then it's going to be too late. But anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it until we actually get to a currency or somehow that gold is used in our trade. And that's just exactly what's going to happen. So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a bumpy ride for all of us. Even those of you who protected your finances with gold and silver, it's still going to be a bumpy ride. Even Trump said with the trade wars, with the tariffs, there's going to be pain.
Well, there has to be. That's the only way to get things. Even if Congress was serious about doing anything, everyone's going to have to sacrifice and feel some pain. And I don't think anybody in America is willing to do that. I really don't. I had an article. We're not going to have time to talk about it. I really wanted to talk to you about it. It's a very short article. I haven't seen much of it anywhere else, but it's about plans in the White House to do a little chopping away at the omnibus bill on that $1.3 trillion spending. And I wanted to talk about that. It's not being said much anywhere. I know you don't like Kudlow, and he was the one talking about it, but he said McIlvaney, is saying that they're going to chop at it. So I think that's going to be interesting, and we'll see if that takes place. We are out of time, Melody. And
all right.
It's been a great show. I have felt greatly informed. I appreciate it all from everybody. And we will be back tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.